All right, guys, welcome to week 8 and the finale weekend of House of the Dragon season 2. Although I've been somewhat disappointed with the season, I'm still excited and fairly optimistic for tonight's episode. I do not think we will see a significant battle at the end of this episode, which I thought we would for sure see. So that again is a tad disappointing in my opinion. It doesn't really seem like we're going to see that battle in this episode. I do think the title prediction of this episode will be either the Gullet or the Triarchy. And you'll see why as we progress throughout the video as why that's true. The far right top image, which I've discussed before, if you've watched the page before, I think will be the last scene of the finale, which will be cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it'll be suspenseful, like what's going to happen there for sure. But again, I think it's going to be a little disappointing. I think they should have done this significant battle that I'm not going to spoil, but I have in other videos. But at this point, I don't want to spoil it further. But I don't think we're going to see that till season 3, so it's a little disappointing again. But anyways, let's get on to my failures on the next slide, guys. I got my beer. I did pretty bad last week. And again, guys, this may contain some spoilers. With that being said, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you can. Thank you, everyone. Let me do the first chug because I struggled. All right. So House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 7, The Red Sowing. I was pretty close on the title prediction. My title prediction last week was the sowing of the seeds, but they went with the red sowing because they really emphasized the brutality of Vermithor just lighting up all those Targaryen bastards. So, but how did I do? God, last week was not good for me. I got a 1.5 out of 4. So, starting with the first one, Aemond I thought would leave for King's Landing. For Harrenhal from King's Landing on Vhagar, and then he'd kill Simon Strong. He does not do that. I will allude to, I think Aemon actually might be leaving King's Landing with Vhagar this episode, but I will discuss that in the next slide a little bit. The second prediction I got half right, I would say, because Daemon does secure the Riverlands finally, but he does not leave Harrenhal. Is he ever going to leave Harrenhal? That is seriously a genuine question. Is he ever going to leave Harrenhal? Like, I swear to God, we're going to see Daemon in like season 3 in Harrenhal. That's getting a little tad. I think that's getting a tad little silly. Like, I think people are agreeing. Like, pretty much everyone agrees that plot line is getting a little ridiculous. I mean, he's been in Harrenhal for like 5 or 6 full episodes. What is that? The equivalent of 4 months in this time period, at least 4 or 5 months at least. But anyways, I digress. Ulf and Hugh the Hammer claiming Silverwing Vermithor, that was easy. And Rhaena claiming Sheepskeeler, no, but we're probably for sure going to see that this week. So let's get into it. Again, guys, I owe you 2 beers. That was pretty poor performance. So let's get into it. Prediction 1, Helaena mounts Dreamfire due to Aemon's command of telling her to do that. So this will be kind of a fun one. Guys, this is just an early quote when Helaena like mounts or claims Dreamfire. We don't really hear much about other than that in the books. This will definitely be a show change. This did not happen in the books, guys. We did see this being alluded to in the finale trailer, though, and I do think it would be both entertaining and necessary for the audience to see Helaena on Dreamfire. Dreamfire has a storied history that I will briefly touch on at the end of this part, guys. I'm going to talk about like the history of Dreamfire since we don't know much about Dreamfire, and she's actually the second oldest dragon during this period of time. But let's discuss first the prediction in more detail. So again, a little bit of this is in the trailer. So guys, it's not a crazy prediction, but I'm still making a prediction on what is going to happen from what I saw in the trailer. Aemond will realize, which I think is a totally needed realization, that he is screwed with just Vhagar, and finally they acknowledge that Helaena rides a pretty big she-dragon in Dreamfire. Again, Dreamfire was born during the like Aegon's like the Conqueror's like rule, like, so she was born in about 25 AC. Like, you could ride Dreamfire by 35 AC. Vermithor and Silverwing weren't even born until about 35 AC. Granted, Vermithor is probably more ferocious and maybe bigger than Dreamfire. But so, yeah, so I mean, she's got to be kind of big. Like, Dreamfire's got to be big. We did see Dreamfire again. I'll get into that in a little bit, but I mean, the Greens have Darren and Tessarion too, but they are a ways away, and Tessarion is smaller, probably only size as Vermax. So like Dreamfire is very important because without Dreamfire it would just be Vhagar and Tessarion, and they'd stand no chance against all of the Black dragons. He will command that she get on Dreamfire. So here's the part I think, to patrol King's Landing so he can leave for Harrenhal. So since Aemond and Vhagar haven't left King's Landing to patrol the skies, like that's the main reason, because they don't want to just like have a bunch of dragons like attack King's Landing. He's gonna have Dreamfire and Helaena like patrol the skies, like how we saw Vhagar and Aemond do that earlier in season 2, which does, strategically make sense. So he will command that she get on Dreamfire to patrol King's Landing so he can leave with Vhagar for Harrenhal. Again, Helaena and Dreamfire are not really big warfare, like people, dragon. Like Dreamfire's traveled around a lot, as I will discuss later, but not like a huge warring dragon. But it's better than nothing. So like Aemon's gonna realize like he needs Dreamfire and Helaena like guard the city basically. She will most likely push back in some way, as in Helaena will push back, maybe giving some prophetic dream about how she will die or something along those lines. You may even see Alicent in this scene push back on Aemon against this because she does not want to see Helaena die too. But Aemon gets what he wants, so she, I think, will mount Dreamfire to patrol King's Landing. I think that'd be kind of cool to see Dreamfire, at least in this episode, but again. But let's do a Dreamfire corner real quick, guys. Again, we do see Dreamfire once in the show in episode 6 of season 1 when Aemon goes down to claim a dragon. She looked pretty big from that shot, so Dreamfire looked pretty huge. It was believed that Dreamfire was the mother dragon of Daenerys' dragons, but we find out in the show that it must be Syrax because those eggs were on Dragonstone with Syrax, where Dreamfire would be in King's Landing in the Dragon Pit, as we know, so they must be Syrax's eggs. Okay, so before we get into the details, because I do want you guys to know about Dreamfire's life, because it is pretty crazy. Let me do a quick... I'll do my best at summarizing this, guys. So Dreamfire was hatched during the reign of King Aegon Targaryen. As a hatchling, she bonded with a 9-year-old Princess Rhaena Targaryen. So that's actually Aegon's first grandchild, was Rhaena Targaryen. By 41 AC, Rhaena was wed to her brother Aegon the Uncrowned, and was sent on a royal progress by their father, King Aenys. So Aenys is the son of Aegon and Rhaenys Targaryen. Rhaena wished to take Dreamfire with her, but Aenys forbade it, as Aegon had not yet claimed a dragon, and the king did not want his son to be seen riding a horse while his wife rode a dragon. So that's kind of a cool little tidbit. But basically, like, Rhaena Targaryen was like a total badass. Like, she was really defiant, and again, she was the granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror and was the first rider of Dreamfire. And again, I do want to emphasize, guys, that Dreamfire is like really old. Dreamfire would be the second oldest dragon behind Vhagar. I mean, technically the cannibal exists too, and he's probably really old, but I digress. Rhaena's father, King Aenys, died in 42 AC, and the crown was usurped by their uncle Maegor. Rhaena and her husband smuggled themselves into King's Landing in 43 AC, while Maegor, was at Oldtown. Rhaena was reunited with Dreamfire and Aegon, finally claimed a dragon of his own, his father's dragon Quicksilver. So I actually do talk about the battle between Quicksilver and Balerion, which is the first dragon battle in Westeros, like dragon on dragon battle in Westeros, in my last video. So give that a check out if you want, guys. It's entitled The Children of Jaehaerys Targaryen. Knowing they could not hold the throne as Aegon and Rhaena, they left King's Landing on their dragons to raise an army. When Aegon went to war against their uncle, Rhaena's and Dreamfire did not accompany them. So basically, this is where Maegor kills Quicksilver and Aegon the Uncrowned. Then Princess Rhaena, after all that happened, sent her twin daughters, Arya and Rhaella, into hiding. However, she felt that she could not hide herself, as she had Dreamfire with her, who was not easily hidden. Therefore, she flew Dreamfire to Fair Isle off the coast of the Sunset Sea, where they stayed at Fair Castle. There they remained until 47 AC, when Maegor commanded Rhaena to return to King's Landing. Not wanting to bring Maegor's wrath and Balerion's fires down on Fair Isle, Rhaena flew on Dreamfire to the Red Keep, only to find out that Maegor wished to make Rhaena his bride, and that his mistress of whispers, Tyanna of the Tower, had found her daughters and then used them as hostages. So basically, Rhaena's daughters were captured by Maegor the Cruel, and she was forced to come back to King's Landing, and she became one of Maegor's black brides, which is like 6 women that he married all at once because he couldn't impregnate a woman, because some people think Maegor is like was actually not like naturally born by Aegon, but and Visenya, but he was like born through like blood magic. But that's a whole other video itself, you could argue. But anyways, that's a little bit of background about Rhaena and Dreamfire, and then again, Dreamfire is eventually claimed by Helaena. But again, my prediction one is Helaena mounts Dreamfire due to Aemon's command, so he can leave for Harrenhal. Sorry guys, that was a little long, but I thought that was important to discuss. Let's get into prediction 2. I do need to do a little beer chug here, ladies and gents. So, Hyland convinces the Triarchy to join the Greens. So we do hear, guys, in episode 6 that Aemond sends Hyland to go parlay with the pirates of the Stepstones and the Triarchy, essentially. So in the book, it is not Hyland who convinces the Triarchy to join the Greens, but rather Otto. As we can see from the first quote on the screen, Otto offered to give them exclusive trading rights as well as ceding the Stepstones to Lys, Myr, and Tyrosh. Interestingly enough, that quote goes on a little bit, and they like Westeros, like Otto couldn't even have done that. They don't even Westeros doesn't really like the Targaryens don't even control the Stepstones, so that was just kind of like a ridiculous promise. But anyways, speaking of Otto, I hope we see him or like hear of him in detail in this episode. But again, with this show and like the pacing and everything going on, I really don't know if we will. But my prediction here is that Tyland will go to the Stepstones to try to make a pact with the Triarchy and Shakaro Lohar, the leader of like the admiral of the Lys military, but she's basically like the head military honcho of the Triarchy. It's a man in the books, but a female in the show. They will probably screw with Tyland, kind of like Baby Jaehaerys in episode 1, LOL. So I think they'll probably like kind of screw with him a little bit because Tyland's easy to screw with. But they will be convinced, most likely because they hate Daemon, or because they will get, again, exclusive trading rights on the Narrow Sea. So we will probably see the Triarchy start to get mobilized in this episode for war, and we might even see them a little bit more than that. I'll talk about that later. Also, the second quote will be shown later in this video on my last prediction. So this prediction will actually tie directly into my last or fourth prediction of this video. But again, let's move on to prediction number 3, guys. I do need to. That's 1. All right. Prediction 3. Ooh. All right, guys. Remember, this is a huge. I talked about this last week. This is a huge change from the books. A lot of people might be like nerds again, like nerdy people like me might be kind of upset because this is a huge change. Rhaena claiming sheep stealer. I think this is like 100% going to happen. I think this might be my only prediction I for sure get right. And again, this is going to be a huge change from the book, so that may upset some book readers. So remember in the last few episodes, we kind of are illuminated first when Rhaena and Joffrey are walking around the Vale. They see this big dragon footprint, and Rhaena's like, "Wow, there's a big dragon." And then basically Lady Jane confirms there's a big dragon in the Vale, which George, guys, real quick, did the whole blog post about how he does not like that idea. He said wild dragons would never leave Dragonstone for the Vale. It's just, so I don't think he liked that change. So that dragon was without a doubt Sheep Stealer. We do see the dead sheep, so that's what they're alluding to. But in the books, Sheep Stealer is claimed by a young girl named Nettles, who has no Targaryen or Valyrian blood. She claims Sheep Stealer based off of feeding the dragon sheep. And basically, it's like training a dog, kind of. But in the show, it looks like they're going to have Rhaena claim Sheep Stealer. I mean, without a doubt. I do not personally mind this change, but a lot of the nerds like me may be mad because, one, Nettles and Daemon do develop a relationship in the books that is neat, and now that won't happen, like a romantic relationship. I don't think Targaryens don't do father to daughter incest. I don't know. That's like the one incest that's banned according to Targaryens. I think it's kind of funny for some reason because, it's all pretty horrible. But Rhaena, at the end of the story, claims that this dragon called, like, at the end of the story of Fire and Blood, like, this isn't even a huge spoiler because it's not going to happen anymore, claims this dragon called Mourning. And there's some significant symbolism in terms of like Daenerys' dragons later on, but I'm not going to get into that because that's not even going to happen. So she'll claim but Rhaena will most likely bring Sheep Stealer back to Dragonstone once she claims her, and now Rhaenyra and the Blacks will have an absolute and total advantage in terms of dragons. I think this will probably happen in the middle of the episode when she claims Sheep Stealer, and I do think we'll see Sheep Stealer and Rhaena back on Dragonstone by the end of the episode. So again, I don't know if that'll exactly happen like that, but she'll definitely claim Sheep Stealer. I'm willing to bet pretty good money on that. All right, last prediction, which I've discussed earlier because I thought this was going to happen in like episode 5 or 6, but no, I think it's probably going to happen in this episode. I think this is going to be the last scene we basically see. So, prediction 4. The Triarchy capture Prince Viserys. Aegon the Younger flees on Stormcloud. highly recommend reading these 3 quotes, guys. And on the third quote, I'm going to add something else that's in the books, but I just didn't want to add it to like fill up the screen too much. But it's kind of a cool little fun fact. So I will admit this is a bold prediction because off the bat we see that Stormcloud is pretty tiny. And it was that episode 5 or 6 we see little Stormcloud. So how in the world would Aegon be able to flee on him and away from the Triarchy? Okay, guys, I have a little theory slash guess. My only guess here is that like about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks have passed by, and I'm pretty sure it's like there's some lure or somewhere it's said dragons when they're younger do like grow like exponentially when they're smaller. So I think it's possible that Stormcloud is like doubled in size at this point. So he is at that point probably big enough where Aegon can like hop on him. I just think this would be a very cool like visual scene, as well as Viserys getting captured directly leads us into a very necessary season 3 battle. So I just don't think they can like change this. They're gonna have to do some variation. Like again, the showrunners might variate this, but I think we will see a version of this. But what I think will happen is once Tyland leaves the Stepstones, we will see the Triarchy pirates be on the move within a few scenes. So I think probably early on in the episode, Tyland will get the Triarchy on his side, and then like later in the episode, we will see this because they'll need some time to like mobilize. Which, again, guys, a little bit on a timeline like that doesn't really make sense. Like it's taking like because I think that's what's going to happen. Because let me explain real quick. It's taking like the Lannisters and like the High Towers forever to just like mobilize, but it's like I feel like we're literally going to see in like half an episode like the entire Triarchy fleet mobilize. I genuinely think that. So again, we'll admit that's a little silly, but anyways, you can't be perfect. So, again, what I think will happen is Tyland leaves the Stepstones. We will see Triarchy pirates be on the move within a few scenes, and when this will happen upon the gay abandon carrying Aegon III and Viserys II. Call me crazy, but I feel like we definitely hear about like the gay abandon in the show. Am I making that up? But like someone in the comments, you can like I feel like they said the gay abandon in the show, right? But anyways, let me do my last beer chug. Cheers. But anyways, guys, I'll admit I'm a little nervous for this episode with how the season's gone with pacing. I'm feeling pretty optimistic about my predictions because I think a lot of these things like literally just have to happen before season 3. So hopefully we're gonna hope for the best, guys. Please like and subscribe. And again, this episode's gonna be about like 75 minutes, so it's gonna be like a movie, damn near. So hopefully we get some good content, guys. With that being said, cheers, and hopefully my predictions are right, and let's see what happens tonight.